am a Florida native that grew up in a wonderful family with 2 older brothers and 1 younger. I grew up in the country, riding horses and being a country kid. I always had dreams of living in New York City when I was young. I got married at 18. I was pregnant and it was the right thing to do. He was a cop and we had a very nice life for a few years. We had our second son 2.5 years later and just started living the married with children life. We were married for 30 years. I wanted to leave after about 12 years, but I didn't want to be a single mom of 2 daughters. So I just focused on the kids, worked, and made the best life I could. My husband was very into being a cop. It was his entire identity, and after many years together, I realized that I never had the intimate, supportive relationship I always wanted. Toward the end of the marriage, he had a nervous breakdown, and that was the catalyst to begin my exit strategy. This was in 2014. I met my future and first affair partner at a work event with my husband. He was hired by a sports association, and they had a huge event in New York in 2010. I had never been to New York City, so I went, and that's where I met my future affair partner. He and my husband had become friends a year or so earlier through this job, and this was my first time meeting him. We were at a party, and I was at the bar alone. My husband was socializing with the guys. This incredibly handsome man came up to me and asked why I was at the bar alone. We chatted for only 10 minutes, but oh my God, I was in love. My husband came over to us and was so happy that we had met. This was the friend he kept telling me about. We left the party and I never saw his friend again. Let's call him Rob. Fast forward to 2016. I was walking in the park with my bestie, and she said she was running the New York City Marathon and asked if I would come along and cheer her on. She, of course, knew all about my marriage issues, and I mentioned this guy Rob and wondered if he would remember me and should I reach out or not. We agreed yes, I should reach out. So I flew up there and I was getting off the plane and I texted him. I bet you don't remember me, but I am so-and-so's wife. I was still married. And that I'm in the city for a marathon and would love to see you if you're around. I was shocked when he responded, yes, certainly he remembered me and he would love to meet. We made plans for that Monday night at the lobby in the Mandarin Oriental Hotel for drinks. We met and he was even more gorgeous in person. We had drinks, went to a few other places, and then he invited me to spend the night with him. I said yes, why not? I honestly thought it would be a one-time thing. I had feelings immediately. We started dating shortly thereafter. This was November of 2016. I moved out of my house December 31st of 2016 and proceeded with my divorce. The divorce was final in March of 2017. Rob was not the reason, but certainly was an incentive. We started dating in December of 2016, me flying to New York once or twice a month. In the meantime, I met another guy in my area and we hit it off. He was equally gorgeous and we had a great connection. The beauty of this guy was he wasn't looking for a relationship, just someone to have fun with. I was okay with that. I was still seeing Rob in New York and this guy in Florida. There was no commitment or request from either guy. In July, I was in the Keys for business and I met a really nice guy at the airport. We had a nice day and continued to chat via phone. He came to my city on business and we had lunch, made out in his truck, and then met up a few weeks later and had sex in my condo. It was nice. Once again, I wasn't officially committed to Rob. He never asked me to be his girlfriend. I continued to text and chat with the second guy, but we never physically connected again. He was aware I was seeing someone. He was too. In late July, Rob and I were going on our first trip together, and the weekend before we left, he came to Florida, and that's when he said he was in love with me. I stopped seeing the first guy. We'll call him Steve. It wasn't a big deal. It was really just friends with benefits. Fast forward a year. I decided to relocate to be closer to Rob, and I moved to New York. During those months, I did keep a texting relationship with Steve and the Keys guy, Alex. Rob was a very suspicious kind of guy. He was also a cop, and he began to doubt me. He thought I was cheating on him with my trainer, and finally used his sources in his department to illegally break into my phone and copy all of my messages. And then he held on to this info for another 8 months until one night, it just exploded. I told him that I did date these guys in the beginning and that yes, I still chatted with them. It was an ugly night and I probably should have left, but I loved this guy and wanted to make it work. He said he could forgive me and that he wanted to work this out. A year after this incident, we had done a pretty good job of moving on, not that there weren't bad days. His drinking was a problem, and it was getting worse, but I kept wanting things to be better. He had one stipulation, and that was that we were to have a threesome. He wanted us to do something together that I hadn't done with anyone else. Okay, I got on a website and found us a partner and had it planned for October of 2020. 2 days before our date, I got my period. I was so upset. He was traveling, and when he landed, we were to meet our unicorn. I had already canceled with her, and we were planning to reschedule. I told him, and he was very upset. He didn't believe me. It was the beginning of the end. We struggled through another few months, 2 more vacations, but in February of 2021, we decided to move to Texas part-time and take a break from the New York life. The plan was for me to live there full-time, and he would commute back and forth to New York. Our last time together was in August of 2021. We hosted a party and had a fabulous weekend, and 2 days later, we were both headed to the airport, me to Texas and he to New Orleans. We had a great day, kissed goodbye, everything seemed fine. The next morning, I got a text saying he was done, we are over, and that I betrayed him at the party by telling someone that we were a couple. He had asked me to pretend to be his assistant, but everyone there knew we were dating. But that's a whole other long story. I was shocked, to say the least. I responded, but I could tell it was done, over. I decided it was time to just walk away. I deserved better. I asked that he send me my clothes from the New York house. He did. At this point, it's now December 28th, and I haven't heard one word from him. Nor do I expect to. Rob wanting me to be his assistant was such an ego trip that ultimately backfired on him. I did send him an email explaining why I kept in touch with those men. Honestly, I never felt 100% secure with him. I was always holding my breath, waiting for him to end things. I never fully trusted him, so I kept those guys as a backup. Plus, even though we hadn't seen each other in 2 years, they always checked in on me. They wanted to know that I was okay and happy. He never did that, not even in the beginning. I saw all the red flags that I ignored and realized I should have never gotten into a serious relationship so soon after my divorce. I should have been honest with him about me dating other guys in the beginning, but I was so infatuated with him, I didn't want to take the chance of losing him. I was very insecure coming out of a 30-year marriage, and I thought I might not be that viable to dating exceptional men. Today, I am so happy, healthy, and back to my real self. I had to hide a lot of myself to fit into his world. I will never make that mistake again. I'm living in a new city, dating some amazing men, and I've never given him another thought. I hope to learn from my mistakes and take things slow next time I fall for someone. I will be open and more forthcoming and not afraid to be rejected. Growth is a beautiful thing. I am in the best place I could ever be. I'm finally exploring all the things I never knew about myself sexually, emotionally, physically. It's all a beautiful journey. I'm grateful for every mistake I've made. It brought me to where I am today. I never officially knew if my ex-husband knew I dated Rob. I have to believe he knew at some point. To my knowledge, they are not friends. I do know about 4 months after we started dating, my ex supposedly sent a Facebook request to Rob, but he did not accept it. My children, they knew the connection between them, but I don't think they ever confirmed it to him. I do talk regularly with both Steve and the Keys guy. I live close to both of them. The Keys guy would like to have a relationship, but I'm not into him like that. Steve, he lives in Indianapolis and Florida and seems to be very happy single. I'm currently living back in Southwest Florida and have met someone, and hopefully it works out. I hope if you take one thing away from my story, it is to be honest with yourself. Know yourself and don't fear rejection. We are the ones in control and never give that up. We are warriors. We cannot be destroyed or diminished unless we allow it. This podcast is powerful and inspiring. We all have a story to tell. Tell yours and be proud of it. Quote, "Well-behaved women rarely make history," end quote. Eleanor Roosevelt.